I wasn't going to make this video because what's the point of talking about this? But I realized that it's important we talk about it and call it out because I haven't been this visibly irritated while watching a trailer in a long time. I think important है ये call out करना और ये video में ना there's not going to be any visual effects. I'm just going to speak to you guys and I hope you empathize with what I say. I haven't been this annoyed with the film's trailer in a long time and I really wanted to sit down with some of the makers of this film and really ask them. You think we're absolutely dumb, right? You think we can't read between the lines? That we can't clearly see what is a poor imitation? What is an absolutely hollow product? What is not made with earnestness and is clearly a desperate attempt to cash in on a genre they believe is trending? Let's really rant about this because I think this tells you the state of some of the producers in the Hindi film industry who simply refuse to evolve and find themselves in an echo chamber of yes men that will only cause their downfall. Baaghi 4 is the fourth installment of a franchise that would surprise a lot of you was actually a very successful franchise before the pandemic. A lot of people will scoff at me for mentioning this, but Tiger Shroff, other than a few bumps along his acting journey, actually had many hits under his kitty, and one consistent feature of his success rate was the Baaghi franchise. Even though the films were poor imitations of already existing action films, it's crazy when you see the box office turnover of these films. Tiger actually had a franchise to his name that was fairly successful. Just like most Hindi film franchises, there is absolutely zero continuity in these movies, and they progressively just got more over the top and absurd as the years passed by. What's crazy is that Baaghi 3 actually released during the most uncertain time of the pandemic, coming close and cut short its run in theaters. Many people anticipating that it would have easily become the third successive hit of the franchise. Yes, we're looking at a time in our lives where director Ahmed Khan was legitimately a box office draw. However, a lot has changed in this market since then. And जब तक ये producers और directors के पल्ले नहीं पड़ेगा, we will get gore and slop like the trailer that we saw today. I remember sitting with a writer who was absolutely annoyed on the number of failed pitch meetings she was experiencing when going from one producer's office to the other. The consistent feature that she told me about these meetings was that whenever she would present a fresh concept, a storyline that may be novel and unique, the producers would legitimately get irritated because they did not have a reference to the story. This is the classic case of what Javed Akhtar once said about creative concepts in India. When one makes something for the first time, they are often dismissed as madmen or disruptors. However, it is when people emulate what was the game changer, they get more unanimous praise. A Vidhu Vinod Chopra was considered to be a madman pushing a theatrical release for 12th fail, but it takes its financial success to acknowledge that there can be potential for underdog stories. Mahavatar, Narsimha and Sayyara are anomalies to this trend, the antithesis of believing that only franchise films and those featuring stars can garner business. Movies that are just made with earnestness, irrespective of the genre or the people associated with it. This is something that the audience recognizes, and they end up doing more marketing for the film than the film's promo and interviews. So when a Baaghi 4 releases its posters, you already become skeptical because you conclude that this is a classic case of a production company knowing that movies like Animal and Marco have done exceedingly well with their unapologetic action, gore and bloodshed. So let's recreate the same. I mean, it also worried me that A. Harsha, the director who has only made Kannada films mostly, was at the helm of affairs. Because even the limited movies I have seen from his filmography are commercial fluff that barely become creative topics of discussion. कहाँ से आता है ये confidence कि ये formula चलेगा is beyond my understanding. The reason why Sandeep Reddy Vanga is celebrated despite his naysayers existing with the themes of Animal is the dedication he has towards at least his films being technically sound. Look back at the teasers and trailers and songs of Animal and you will see a purpose in every frame and the score associated with it. His trailers and their editing pattern had a clear focus on what he wanted the audience to focus on versus just mindless bloodshed assuming that this is what the audience loves. Marco is often criticized for its unnecessary and vile gory violence that it ventured into, in some cases not being warranted for the scenes too. However, I still recount some of the craziest action choreography and the visual palette of the film genuinely looked slick and cool. The adjectives that prop up in my mind when I look at the frames of Baaghi 4 are purposeless and tacky. And even the most die-hard fans of Tiger Shroff, I mean, if they are now in the current market, will attest to the fact that these are their feelings too. I feel concerned when I look at Sanjay Dutt in films now. Why is the man working like he has 100 crores of debt? What compels him to sign everything under the sky? What makes his glimpses in movies so watchable while the others almost feel like he has just woken up from bed? Has Sanjay Dutt not lived a creatively and monetarily fulfilling life? Why does he feel obligated to do these type of movies, especially in this stage of his career? The movie seems to be focusing on the death of a character by the name of Alicia and how this leads to a bloody conflict between the two leads. The blood splatter in this film's trailer is absolutely cringeworthy, almost seeming like they could not invest in practical effects, so they produce such tacky, digitally rendered blood splatter that it looks like random slime from the Nickelodeon Kids' Choice Awards. I don't know about you, but I love anything that showcases any kind of greatness that is unique to an individual, something that makes them stand out from the crowd, and Tiger Shroff's agility and physical prowess is something that I've been a fan of. The lack of true action stars in Hindi cinema who can excel in hand-to-hand combat and martial arts is glaring. Tiger and Vidyut being the only actors who do not have to depend on body doubles for the most complex choreography. They are not the best actors, but they paper over such limitations with some of the best stunt work I have seen from leading actors. However, there is an absolute disconnect for Tiger on what he should do in his career. What was once a novelty genuinely generating a huge fan base with kids, something that people don't even know about regarding Tiger, the same elements have become stale and boring, making his movies progressively unwatchable. I mean, talk about trying to emulate already successful products and you've got guys with diamond face masks running from the hero. I mean, come on. Can anything be an extension or a Xerox copy of the corridor sequence from Animal? You aren't even pretending to be unique in any way. You are straight up knocking off the same sequences and even the way the extras are styled from a popular movie. Fateh with Sonu Sood did the same, and I find it crazy that this even gets approved. Another absolutely infuriating aspect of the trailer is this producer's belief that if one really has to make a hard-hitting climax, they really have to get B Prak to sing at the highest emotional pitch. B Prak ने फिलहाल क्या गा लिया, थोड़ा सा उन्होंने शेरशाह और एनिमल के क्लाइमैक्स को अच्छा बना दिया, and every producer wants to emulate the same. We saw this recently in a film like Sarzameen, and it was the most out of place song in any way poor film. The only silver lining I see of this movie is that usually films like this have the women acting like the damsel in distress, just standing around a corner waiting to be saved, and you've got Sonam Bajwa and HARNAAZ Sandhu at least kicking ass in the frames versus just looking pretty in dresses. But again, everything just looks so tacky. I mean, the frame of HARNAAZ being so bloodthirsty is so unintentionally funny that I can't believe that this is their idea of what is cool. I'm sure Tiger will impress from an action choreography perspective in some sequences, but the lack of identity in each frame is so concerning, all because the makers believe that they can backtrack, re-engineer, and execute a formula for a creative medium whose only formula of success can be earnestness to tell a story. I mean, Dhurandhar also had actors screaming and kicking ass in every frame, but the editing pattern of the trailer was so engaging that it never looked like an attempt to emulate something already pre-existing, but simply being true to their world. You thought the formula of casting 20 actors in Houseful 5 would be a recipe for success, but see how that tanked and failed. Miserably. You thought you were exceptionally creative for creating two endings for a stupid film like Houseful 5, saying it's never been done in Indian cinema before, right? How did that fare? I can imagine a director like Sandeep Reddy Vanga genuinely looking at such a trailer and chuckling at the feeble attempt to recreate his scenes. It's not funny anymore. It's bordering on just being embarrassing.